Chicago. The name strikes intensity and power the moment it slides off your tongue. Does it ever occur to anyone why the city everyone knows and loves came to be so well known around the states and world? It's very simple. Chicago warfare. Inventions, suburban culture expansion, and economic growth were key points that arose from the successful World's Fair. People from around the world came to share their knowledge and ideas from chewing gum to the first home washing machine. This brought many ethnicities into the city once again, creating more well-bounded neighborhoods where everyone spoke the same languages. Culture sprung about with the incoming of peoples visiting hotels, or if not, planning on living in Chicago. At the time, Chicago took a great risk in hosting the fair because of the budget they had. Economic growth was a great key factor as to why it was held in Chicago, and also geographically, since all the railroads are connected there. A sense of peace and humbleness all throughout the city gave it that much more to give. A total of 27,300,000 people visit between May and October, making the White City a hotspot place to live in the state. In a way, the fair was a leap into exploration and a step towards creating the future. The World's Columbian Exposition of 1893 was an event of immense cultural importance to America nearing the turn of the century. From May 1st to October 31st, 1893, Chicago and the exposition was expecting a total estimate of 27 million visitors. Fairs back then were a form of relaxation or leisure activity at the time. The World's Fair in today's terms could be described as the Olympics, Disney World, and the Super Bowl all at the same time. At a certain point during the construction, there was such a commotion and curiosity surrounding the compound where the construction was happening that Burnham, the construction head leader, allowed people to enter the construction site. And for only 25 cents you can go in and watch the construction occur. Paying only a fee of 25 cents to watch the progress of construction, over 3,000 people visited per week. Burnham and the directory created a great and extraordinary amount in doing so. The Chicago World's Fair took 633 acres, 75 million board feet of lumber, 18,000 tons of iron and steel, 120,000 incandescent lights, 30 tons of staff, 14 main buildings with total floor space of 63 million square feet. The overall time it took to create the fair was slow. It was so slow that they had to move the grand opening from late 1892 to May 1893. After 3 years of preparation and $28 million, the fair opened finally on May 1st, 1893, on a beautiful day. Attendance at the fair was very stagnant and not much predictable as to how much people were going to go. But it is generally agreed that a total of over 27.5 million people visited the fair. 21.5 million in paid admissions and 6 million entered the park for free due to families that were part of the donations or construction worker families or people who just donated and helped. Percentage of Americans that went to the fair isn't available, and neither is the number of those Americans individuals who went a second time. However, it can be roughly estimated that approximately 25% of the United States population visited the fair, and the majority of the rest of the country experienced it through newspaper accounts, photographic guidebooks, and the pictures and stories of friends and family who visited themselves.
Chicago World's Fair brought a historical change to the daily lifestyle. It created a positive effect in the economy as many people from all around the world came to visit this new innovation. It also offered many opportunities to increase the amount of technology being added to the lifestyles in which we currently live in. It brought many people to Chicago and gave it a new name worldwide rather than it just being a city which had no progress towards the future. One of the most admirable actions that Chicago took that made an impact for the long run was the fact that they were low on budget and still managed to create such a magnificent event. As seen today, the World's Fair of 1893 was seen as a media event. This was interpreted as an easy way to attract a variety of people to come and experience this themselves. This fair developed the route to take and settle in modern life. When visiting the Columbian Exposition held in Chicago 1893 to commemorate Columbus's landing in America, Henry Adams was awed by the technological advances being placed on display for the people. All the money that was donated or contributed to make this fair happen led to make all of the business buildings and tourist sites that millions of people visit today. The World Fair encouraged the idea of electricity and made people become interested in contributing to this topic. It became a significant aspect of their lifestyle, creating an identity we still manage to keep going today. Back then, residents of Chicago visited the fair and were proud to call themselves Chicagoans. And up to this day, many people continue to visit Chicago for its astonishing buildings and artistic projects, like the Willis Tower and Cloud Gate, famously known as the Bean.
The World's Fair of 1893 had a major economic impact in the city of Chicago. As detailed in Eric Larson's popular history, The Devil in the White City, extraordinary effort was required to accomplish the exposition, and much of it was unfinished on opening day, May 1st. Frequent debates and disagreements among the developers of the fair had added many delays to all the projects, and escalated costs to over $20 million. The U.S. government issued the country's first postcards and stamps in two new coins, a quarter and half-dollar. The half-dollar featured Christopher Columbus, in whose honor the fair had been staged, while the quarter depicted Queen Isabella of Spain, who had funded Columbus's voyages, making it the first U.S. coin to honor a woman. Despite the money raised by private investors and the U.S. government through the sale of the coins and stamps, squabbling amongst the organizers and numerous construction delays resulted in a huge budget deficit. The financial status of the fair was in doubt until its final weeks, as the deepening economic depression of 1893 plus the tardiness of completion of many of the exhibits delayed attendance. However, fair attendance records were shattered on Chicago Day, October 9th. Businesses in Chicago had closed for the day, and over 750,000 people attended the fair, almost twice as many as the previous record. The daily admission price was 50 cents. The spurning of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show proved a serious financial mistake, as Buffalo Bill set up his highly popular show next door to the fair and brought in a great deal of revenue that he did not have to share with the developers. On the other hand, the famous Ferris wheel, which was not finished until mid-June, 6 weeks into the fair, proved to be a major attendance draw and helped save the fair from bankruptcy. The long-awaited debut of a new invention from Pittsburgh-based bridge builder and steel magnate George Washington Gale Ferris Jr., intended to rival the highlight of 1889 fair in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. Ferris's 264-foot tall wheel was an engineering marvel. It could fit 2,160 people at a time and cost 50 cents to ride, twice the price of a ticket to the fair itself. Overall, the construction and operation of the fair proved to be a windfall for Chicago workers during the serious economic recession that was sweeping the country.
In conclusion, modern day America wouldn't be the same had the World Columbian Exposition not existed. The fair reinforced American beliefs, encouraged pride in one's country, introduced us to new innovations, and brought us economic growth. We created the Ferris wheel for the fair, and it is still being used all around the world today. Navy Pier's Ferris wheel, which is visited by about 8.9 million people a year, would not be possible if it weren't for the fair. Not only were the business people interested in making the fair happen, but also Chicagoans. This brought immense pride to Americans. 30,000 people invested in the World Fair itself, mainly because they wanted to see it happen. Between those 30,000 people, they all invested $1 million, which they ended up getting back because of how much money the fair brought to Chicago. All in all, without the fair, we wouldn't have been able to call Chicago the great city it is today, with its striking skyscrapers and beautiful architectural